Hello everyone, this is Andrew at Crown Academy of English. Today we are doing a lesson about the difference between bring and take. So let's start. So here we are, and this is David, and he is carrying some boxes from the office to a lorry. Okay, so David is here on the right, coming out of the office, and he is carrying the boxes to the lorry. And at the office he meets his manager, and the manager says, "What are you doing?" And David replies, "I am taking these boxes to the lorry." Okay, now the same situation. David is carrying the boxes to the lorry, but now he has arrived at the lorry. Okay, he is in front of the lorry, and again he meets his manager, and the manager says, "What are you doing?" And this time David replies, "I am bringing these boxes to the lorry." So this time he says bringing, and at the top he said taking. Okay, so why is there a difference? That is the reason for this lesson. We are going to discuss when we use take and when we use bring. So at the top we use take here because the speaker and the listener, they are not at the destination. Okay, so the destination is here. It is the lorry. But the speaker, David, and the listener, the manager, they are at the office. So they are far from the destination. And we can also notice that the direction of the movement is away from the speaker. So we can see the direction of the movement. It starts here and it moves away from the speaker. Okay, that is very important. And at the bottom, since David, he has arrived at the lorry, and that is where he meets his manager. So we can notice that the speaker is at the destination. All right, that is the big difference. And this time, the direction of the movement is to the speaker, or towards the speaker, towards David. So this time, the direction is to David. And that is the second important difference. Okay? So that is the basic difference between these two words. And now we will look at it in more detail. So first of all, take, the verb take. Well, the past simple is took, and the past participle is taken. So it is an irregular verb. Now let us look at the form. So here is the example sentence. I am taking these boxes to the lorry. So the structure is the verb take, then the object, then the word to, and then the indirect object, or the place. And we can see that here. Or sometimes we just have the verb take followed by the object. So sometimes it is not necessary to specify the place or destination. For example, here, I will take an umbrella. We say, I will take an umbrella if it is obvious where the destination is. If the destination is obvious or not important, then we just say take and then the object. Now the verb bring. Again, this is an irregular verb, and the past simple and the past participle is brought. So we pronounce this brought. And the verb bring has three different structures or forms. This is the first one. So the example sentence is, I am bringing these boxes to the lorry. So the verb bring, then the object, then the word to, and then the indirect object. Or we can say, for example, I will bring you an umbrella. And here we have the verb bring, and then the indirect object, and then the object. So the order is different. The indirect object is before the object, and we do not have the word to. And the third type of structure is the most simple one. And again here, we can just have the verb bring and then the object. So if we do not need to specify the place or the destination, we can just say, I will bring an umbrella, for example. Okay? Now, let's look in more detail at when we use bring and when we use take. Okay? Now, it is quite complicated. There are quite a few rules and exceptions. So I made this diagram for you to simplify it for you. So this diagram shows you most of the situations. Not all of them, but the most common situations are shown on this diagram. And there are in fact 3 situations on this diagram where we use bring. So this one, that is 1, 2, and 3. And the 4th situation is when we use the word take. So the best way for me to explain this is for me to show you each type of example, each situation. So I will show you 3 situations for bring, and in fact I will also show you 3 situations for take. So I will show you 3 examples for this situation here. So I'm going to start with this one, this situation number 1. Okay? So, situation 1 is Sarah would like some sugar. So Here is Sarah. She is in a cafe at a table and she would like some sugar. So she says, "Waiter, please bring me some sugar." Okay. So, why do we use bring? Well, let's look at our diagram. The diagram says, we start here at the top, is the speaker at the destination now? Well, Sarah is the speaker, and the destination is, in fact, Sarah, or the table where Sarah is. So, because she wants the sugar at the table. So the answer here is yes, the speaker is at the destination now. So we answer yes here, and so we use the word bring. It's very simple. Okay, so this is very easy. If the person or the speaker is at the destination of the object, then we always use the word bring. And so the word take is wrong in this context. And this arrow, this shows the direction of the movement. So the movement is going towards the speaker. So now let us look at situation number 2. This one. Mark needs an umbrella. So here is Mark. And here is David. Mark says, "I am in the park. It is raining and I am getting wet." Now David is at David's house and he answers the phone and he says, "Okay, I will bring you an umbrella. I will bring you an umbrella." Okay, so why does David say bring? Well, let us look at the diagram. Is the speaker at the destination now? This is the speaker, and the answer is no. The destination is the park, but David is at his house. So here we reply no. So now we ask this question. Is the listener at the destination now? The listener is Mark, and yes, he is at the park. So here we answer yes. And that is why we use the word bring. That is the second rule, the second situation. So take is wrong in this context, and the direction of the movement is towards Mark. It will be in the future when David arrives at the park. The direction of the movement is to Mark. Now let's look at situation 3. Sarah and David organize a meal in a restaurant for tomorrow. Here is Sarah, and here is David. And David asks Sarah, "Would you like to go for a meal tomorrow to celebrate my birthday?" Sarah replies, "Yes, thank you. I will bring your present to the restaurant." So, why does Sarah say bring? Well, is the speaker at the destination now? Well, no. Sarah is the speaker, and she is at her home. So we say no. And we ask this question: is the listener at the destination now? So is David at the destination? Well, the destination is the restaurant, but David is at his home. So the answer is no. So we come down here. And this question is, will the speaker and listener be present at the destination? So will they both be at the restaurant? Well, the answer is yes. Yes, they will. That is where they are going. And so the answer is yes, and we use the word bring. Okay? And so take in this context is wrong. If the answer here was no, so in other words, if David was not going to the restaurant, then Sarah would have said take. Okay? So that is why this is important. And the direction is towards the listener, in fact. It is towards David in the future. Now let us look at situation 4. David wants to go to the airport. So this is David, and he's asking a taxi driver, take me to the airport, please. So, is the speaker at the destination now? No. David is in the street. Is the listener at the destination now? Well, the destination is the airport, and the answer is no. The listener is in a taxi. So, will the speaker and listener be present at the destination? Well, what this question means is, will the speaker and listener be present at the destination, and will they spend time together at the destination? Well, the answer is no. It is only David who is really going to the airport. It is only David who will spend time at the airport. The taxi is only going to transport him to the airport. So the answer here is no. And that is why we come here and we use the word take. Take me to the airport. Okay? Bring is wrong in this context. And this time, the arrow is in the other direction. The movement is away from David. That is important. Now let us look at situation 5. The dog needs a walk. So there is a boy, John, who says to his dad, "Dad, I am going to take the dog to the park." Okay, so John and his dad are in the house, and the dog wants to go to the park. Is the speaker at the destination now? No. The destination is the park, but John is in the house. No. Is the listener at the destination? No, Dad is also in the house. Will the speaker and listener be present at the destination? Will they spend time at the destination? Well, no. It is only John who is going to the park. Dad is staying at the house. So the answer is no. And we use the word take. And bring, in this context, is wrong. And the direction is away from the house. Okay, it is away from the house. Now, the last situation, situation 6. An invoice must go to a different department. Okay, so this is Jane. Jane works in the sales department and she is talking to John. Jane says, "Please take this invoice to the accounts department." Okay, so is the speaker at the destination? Well, no. The destination is the accounts department, but Jane is in the sales department. Is the listener at the destination? No, he is also in the sales department. And will the speaker and the listener be present at the destination? Will they spend time at the destination? No, because Jane is staying here. It is only the man who is going to the accounts department. So the answer here is no. And so we use the word take. And bring, in this context, is wrong. And the direction is from the sales department to the accounts department. It is away from the speaker. Okay, so those are the 6 situations, or sorry, the 4 situations. And the context and perspective are very important when we are deciding whether to use bring or take. Sometimes grammatically, sometimes we only know which one is correct if we know the context. So sometimes both are correct, but only correct with one context. Let me give you another example. Mark has some photographs at home, and he would like to show those photographs to his manager at work tomorrow. First of all, Mark is discussing the photographs at home with his wife. So here is Mark. He is at home with his wife and he is discussing the photographs. So he says to his wife, "I will take the photographs to the office tomorrow." Okay, so that, if you look at the diagram, that is following all the rules of the diagram, and that is why we say take. But then, if he calls his manager to discuss it with his manager, then he will say to his manager, "I will bring the photographs to the office tomorrow." Okay? Because Mark is not at the destination yet. His manager is not at the destination yet, but they will both be at the destination tomorrow. They will both spend time at the destination tomorrow. So that is why in this context he says bring. So he says bring when talking to his manager, but he says take when he is talking to his wife. Okay? Because his wife will not be present at the destination. So context is very, very important. Exercise. So 3 questions. For each question, which of the 2 sentences is correct? Question 1. Sarah says, "Thanks for bringing me here," or "Thanks for taking me here." Which one is correct? And I will give you 5 seconds. Well, the answer is the first one. Sarah is the speaker and she is at the destination. So she says bringing. Question 2. David says, "I'll bring you home after this drink," or "I'll take you home after this drink." Which one is correct? Well, the answer is "I'll take you home after this drink." Okay, and if you're not sure why, then go back and look at the example with the taxi. Okay, it's the same example as the taxi. Question 3. David says, "Barman, please bring me the bill," or "Barman, please take me the bill." So which one is correct? And the answer is the first one. Bring is correct, because David is at the destination. David is the speaker and he is at the destination because he wants the bill. So we use the word bring. Okay? So that is the end of the lesson. Here are 2 other videos which you might be interested in. This is a listening exercise and this is a grammar lesson. Okay, thank you very much for watching. My name is Andrew at Crown Academy of English, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.